Good evening and welcome to season 2, episode 6 of the Pack Homer podcast. I'm here with my buddies Adam and Wes. Pack sweeps Fordham. We're going to talk about it a little bit, but really not a ton to talk about. It was just a butt whooping at the Doak this week, which is what we kind of expected, but always glad to see it. Before we get into this weekend series, I want to give a little ACC rundown. If you guys have any thoughts on any of these games and know a little bit more than the info and notes I have, feel free to chime in. So around ACC play, UNC 3-0 series winners over Texas Tech. I mean, that's a really good series win. Clemson won 2 out of 3. They beat Oklahoma State and Arizona, and then they got beat 15-5 today by Ole Miss. Virginia Tech went 3-0 versus Bucknell. Pitt had 2 close games, but won all 3 versus Eastern Michigan. UVA, I think, was down in Puerto Rico. Lost to Michigan game 1, 5-4, I think, in 10 innings, and then beat Villanova and Rice. Wake Forest won 4 games this weekend, 2 over Long Island, 2 over Marist. Just kind of really just blew the doors off those teams, as you'd expect. Boston College split with South Carolina Upstate. There might be a game left in that series. I'm not sure. Duke was kind of the surprise of the weekend to me. They lost 2 out of 3 to Cincinnati, and they absolutely got their doors blown off today, 19-5. I don't think they could throw it over the plate. I think they walked 10 or 12 guys and got whooped up on. Georgia Tech won 3-2 game 1 versus Old Dominion, and then lost 3-2 game 1 versus Old Dominion. We're on the ropes in game 2 before Drew Burress, who we've talked about on the pod before, one of the best players in the country, hit a walk-off grand slam to win game 2. And then today they won 7-4. Florida State, one of the best pitching staffs in the ACC, they swept James Madison this weekend and gave up 2 runs in 3 ball games. Pretty impressive. Notre Dame won 2 out of 3 versus North Florida, but did lose game 3, 8-1. Miami swept Miami swept Niagara. Louisville had a 4-3 win over Texas, which is a big win. Then they lost 12-3 to Oklahoma State, and then they beat Arizona today, 13-1. So the ACC beating up on Arizona, both Clemson and Louisville beating Arizona this weekend. California, kind of sounds funny to say that in the ACC, but they won 2 out of 3 over Nevada, and Stanford swept Cal State Fullerton.
Wow.
Any thoughts on any of those games, boys, before we move on?
That was a pretty impressive that Georgia Tech walk-off grand slam was a pretty impressive feat. I saw Burris's home run, I don't remember if it was 11.7 or one of the national college podcasts tweeted out something like, go ahead and give him the golden spikes, or and then another one was like Mr. College Baseball hits a walk-off or something like that. It was pretty awesome.
Dude's pretty good. We talked about him last year. Not a very big guy. Hit like 28 home runs or something stupid in high school. Just melted it in the ACC last year. Local score today, UNCW beat Georgia today. Did you guys see that? Had a 6-2 win over Georgia and no hit them for 7 innings.
The other thing was I think Wesley was watching it, but the Friday night Elon at College Station game, Elon held them scoreless through 5 or 6?
Yeah, through 5, and as soon as Elon went to the pen, things kind of changed pretty quickly in Texas A&M's favor. But the start pitcher played well, and honestly, Elon in all the games was competitive. So it looks like they got a pretty good team over there this year.
Yeah, and Texas A&M, number 1 team in the country, so that's impressive. Talking about how funny baseball is, you look at the UNCW series, or down in Wilmington this week, I think Quinnipiac, Georgia, and UNCW were down there, and UNCW played a close game for most of the game yesterday against Georgia and lost. And then I think Quinnipiac played Georgia to a 7-4 game, which Georgia won. But then UNCW, I believe, lost to Quinnipiac this morning and then beat Georgia this afternoon. So college baseball is always pretty exciting. I think that's why when we had this Fordham series this weekend, you really can't take it for granted that you're just going to roll them out there and win.
Well, another local score was or series. East Carolina lost 7-3 the first game against George Mason, and then they won game 2 and game 3 of the series 4-3. So it was some close games in Greenville this weekend as well.
Yeah, a lot of competitive baseball. So NC State outscores Fordham 42-9 this weekend. I think it was Butterworth that came on and said, Coach Hart said that, what do you know about NC State butters? They always hit. We were a little bit concerned about that coming in. I don't want to go game by game because I think, everybody knows I think we beat them 11-1, 12-2. And then yesterday's game was, I don't know,
19-6.
19-6. And it was, 19-1 or, 16-0 or something for a long time. But a good sweep from the Pack. We got to see a lot. Of course, we saw Don Fritton, Heath Andrews, and Ryan Marone make starts. We'll talk about that. And then, but before we get into that, I want to talk about our guys offensively this weekend. That was a big question mark. I think I said a lot in the preseason that Coach Avent was going to have a hard job writing a lineup card. And I feel like after this weekend, he's still got a hard job writing a lineup card, guys. First, I'm going to tell you the guys that started all three games because I kind of feel like when you look at an early season series like this, if you play 3 games and guys start all 3 games, you're probably going to figure to see those guys, about every day. Could stay the same all year. But Chris McHugh, Justin DeCrisico, Luke Nixon, Braden Frostman, Alex Sosa, and Ty Head started all 3 ball games. I think Josh Hogue probably, if he was completely healthy, would have probably started all 3 ball games as well. He only started 2 of the 3 games. I think they didn't want to run him out there for 18 innings, which it didn't end up being a full 18 innings. But I don't think they wanted to do that on opening day with him coming back from that crazy leg injury he had last year. So what did you guys think? I mean, I'll be the first one to say, I think Chris McHugh's a dude. What about you guys?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, pretty impressive. 6 RBIs this weekend, 5 for 9 at the dish. Had a big home run. I mean, it was pretty fun to watch. I really didn't know what to think power wise. I mean, we only played 22 innings, I guess, combined, but 6 home runs. I feel like for a new team, with so many new guys. I mean, Sosa obviously had 2 of them, but I think, and Bechtel, obviously we've talked about Bechtel a lot. We're all big fans of his, but we had three new guys hit home runs this weekend, but yeah, McHugh, I mean, he kind of led the way for sure. I mean, it was and drew 3 walks. So, um it was offensively it was pretty fun to watch. I mean, I think like you said, that was where we kind of called into question how good are we going to really be. So many new pieces we didn't know anything about, but it was the fun to see us hit so well.
And,
Yeah,
and I hate. Go ahead, Wes.
I don't remember, the opening series last year against VCU, McHugh being so big. I mean, I don't know, Cal, you were at the game, but on television, he just looks like a really big kid. Just don't really remember last year in that opening series. Of course, I guess I really maybe wasn't paying quite as much of attention, but I don't remember, him having that much size. So that was interesting to see. And then, of course, the power. I think the home run was what, 439, 435.
Would have been
So
out of anywhere.
yeah,
It was absolutely touched. And
Yeah.
and I was at game 1 and 2. I stayed home yesterday and watched it on TV. And you boys were texting me during game 1 and 2 about I guess the TV broadcast wasn't that good. I'm not trying to
oh
give us
God,
guys a hard time, but
I turned the sound off.
oh
I was watching
jeez,
only.
but I did watch yesterday, and I kind of saw what you guys were saying. I mean, the camera's just going everywhere. Hell, I didn't know what I was watching half the time, but maybe McHugh he hit one off the camera tower. That home run he hit on Friday that he hit dead center. If you're familiar with the batter's eye at the just left of the batter's eye, if you're sitting, behind home plate, is a camera tower, and you hit that ball off the top of that camera tower on the fly. So maybe, I don't know, maybe that's why I had our broadcast a little shook up this weekend. But
As a no doubter.
I mean, it was absolutely touched. And
Bechtel's was about the same way,
did y'all see the one Bechtel hit when? Well, of course you did, but when he hit that ball, did you see the center fielder? He takes off on a dead sprint, and he just stops and turns around. And he's like, "All right, I'm just wasting my breath." Another name that I think a lot of folks were excited about this weekend that we didn't talk about a whole lot in the preseason was Braden Frostman. That guy looks pretty good in uniform, huh?
Yeah, he looks like a big leaguer. I mean, I guess I hadn't dove in quite as much as I should, but when I saw him in the starting lineup, I really wasn't familiar. Um, but quickly recognized the ability there.
Yeah, I thought, and we had some texts kind of flying around when we first saw Frostman. I mean, he just looks the part in uniform. I think he had kind of an ugly error down in right field, but he's a guy we're going to have to figure out where we're going to play every day, because he's going to hit. I mean, I have no idea what the lineup's going to look like when we play Liberty Tuesday, or when we go down to Jacksonville this weekend, because we play so many different guys. How about Brandon Novy? That's another name, freshman. That dude looks like an NFL tight end. He is ginormous. I mean, he's a name we didn't talk about at all. We all kind of assumed that we knew Hebner might start. I kind of expected Hebner to start game one, and he did. And Hebner, really good defensively. If he hits the ball at all, he's going to push some guys for some playing time and to be in the lineup every day. But then Novy rolls out there and starts game two, and he is a gigantic human being, and he's a freshman. I think he's 6'5". So kind of a name I didn't expect to get a start this weekend, but big kid. And then Jaros, of course, started yesterday. So we played 3 games this weekend and started 3 different guys at third base. Not to slight any of those guys, but do you guys feel like maybe? I mean, the infield kind of feels like it's figured out, other than third base. Do you guys think that's going to be kind of a toss up for a while?
I think we're gonna go through some growing pains there, and the vacuum that AMAC was last year might not be quite the same scenario, but I think competition will be a good thing for sure, and it'll be interesting to see, once we get to conference play, who the, everyday guy is.
Yeah,
Agreed.
I think watching the game, Hebner's pretty sure-handed. He's a good defensive player. Hebner honestly can probably play third, short, and second. I think that Novy and Jaros kind of looked a little bit shakier over at third. Jaros has probably had a few less ground balls in the off season because he's been kind of battling the injury and trying to come back from injury. Novy is very green. I mean, he's young. He's a freshman, and you throw him out there.
Where's Novy from? Is he a North Carolina kid?
He's from Holly Springs,
No kidding.
which is
I did not
right up
know
the road from me. But I think he might have played at Pro 5 or one of those academy schools. I'm not sure, but he's big, and I think it kind of says a lot about him that our staff was willing to roll him out there game one. How about our new shortstop, Decrecio? I'm sorry, Decrecio. I think I heard the boys calling him Creasy, so maybe we should just start calling him that. But what y'all think about our new shortstop? I think he's a guy that's going to play every day.
Yeah, he looked comfortable with the plate and made some really good plays in the field, and no reason for concern that I saw.
I agree. I think that he had a couple of balls that were hit to him this weekend. I wanted him to come and get a little harder.
Yeah, I remember that one he played pretty back on it. He made a great play on it in game 2.
Yeah.
That he kind of, backhanded it off his right side and made a great play. But yeah, seemed like he was playing back on the ball a little bit, at least that particular time.
And he's a good defender. I mean, he made 8 errors last year at San Diego. He's played 4 years of college baseball now. So, I trust that guy every day at third base. I think that if you, McHugh, I mean, it's hard, like you want to call him a donkey because he's at first base to hit. There's no question. He's in the lineup to hit. I don't know that he is as a good a defender as what we've had at first base the last couple of years. I think he kind of had a couple tough picks that he didn't dig out, but um, he definitely is in the lineup to hit. Kind of be interesting. You hope that doesn't hurt you any in any big moments, but I think Decretia, if you compare him to Butterworth, I think I told you guys what I thought just watching him. I think he's going to hit for a higher average than Butters did. I think he's like one of those guys that's going to be a consistent contact dude. I don't think that he's not. I don't think just watching him in this early, I don't think he's as explosive as Butterworth it was. I think that's why Butterworth was a 12th round draft pick because he's as small as undersized as he was, he's a guy who just could square up some balls and melt them at times. I didn't see that as much from Decrecio, but Decrecio, very solid, experienced veteran shortstop. I think he's going to hit for average, and I really think it's going to be him and Luke that kind of stir the drink for us. I thought Luke looked really good. I mean, I hope. I don't know if you guys saw. I think it was game 2 on Friday when he stole third on the ball in the dirt and he kind of got
Yeah.
up, kind of limp. Kind of scared me to death because Luke is he's not the biggest guy and he plays with his hair on fire. And we got to keep him healthy. I think it's very important for us that he plays 60 games this year. But he's put on some good weight too. I mean, I don't think he's gained 20 pounds, but I think he's put on a little bit of weight. But he looked really good too. I mean, he had 417 for the weekend. He was 5 for 12, runs the bases, really, really good. But just overall, not to go player by player, but I mean, do you guys still have the question marks about hitting that you had going into the year? I feel like we're going to hit. I just don't know who the 8 or 9 guys we're going to stick in the lineup every day are yet.
I agree. You look at, a couple of the guys that just for the weekend average, a couple of the guys that we were most excited about were Lanphier and getting Hogue back. And those were, bottom of the list as far as average over the opening weekend. Again, not a lot to glean off of that when you're considering the opponent, but still, I mean, when those were two of the guys two of the guys I was the most excited about seeing, to be at the bottom of the list after opening weekend, I think is hopefully a sign of things to come for the lineup for this season.
Did Ty Head ever? I mean, not Ty Head. Did Lions ever play?
Lions never played.
He did not.
That
I was
surprised
surprised.
me.
I say that's probably one of the biggest surprises of the weekend was that he never, saw the field.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if there's an injury there you don't know about. I mean, because we kind of rolled everybody out there. For him not to get an AB was kind of surprising, right? Wes, I didn't even catch that honestly until now. So, not sure what's going on there, but that'll definitely be something to pay attention to. Yeah, and Lanphier, I mean, he looked really comfortable. He looked good in the box. Had a couple knocks, and I will say that if you compared him to Sosa behind the plate, I mean, Sosa looked a lot better
Yeah.
defensively this weekend. I mean, Sosa is kind of the guy everybody expects to be one of the better catchers in the conference, if not the nation. So I don't think that's a huge surprise, but we did kind of struggle. There was some wild pitches in game 2 on Friday that, Drew Lanphier would tell you himself that he, hopes he blocks and keeps those balls a little bit closer. Kind of was kind of ugly a couple of times there in game 2 on Friday, but I mean, overall, I thought we looked really good. Ty Head, name you just mentioned there, Wes, the freshman, he's super athletic. He can really, really run. Didn't really get to see him lift anything. I mean, he was more line drive and ground ball. Still went through.
He drew 4 walks, didn't strike out.
Yeah, very patient in the box. Last year, we kind of talked about it all season long about how NC State was one of the teams that struck out as few as anybody in the country. And then this weekend we struck out 8 times in 95 at bats. So if that's something that we're able to maintain that, I think that's one of the things you have a question mark about Sosa. If you look last year at, I guess if you look at, I was looking earlier today, if you look at Cozart, if you look at AMAC, if you look at Serrano, if you look at Pennington, all those guys have a less than 20% strikeout rate. And last year, Sosa struck out, about 30% of the time. So this weekend, he punched out, I think he punched out
Three
three times,
times.
3 times in 11 at bats. So, I mean, he's got such pop that you really want him to put more balls into play. I think one of the reasons Sosa strikes out as much as he does, honestly, is because he's really damn patient. I mean, if you watch him play, he takes a lot of pitches. So if you get deep in count, you're a little bit more susceptible to striking out. But of course, if you get the power numbers, you can handle a few more strikeouts. I mean, look at Vance Honeycutt last year at UNC. The dude struck out like 80 sometimes, but also hit a lot of home runs because he was deep in a lot of counts. So that'd be something to pay attention to. But overall, I was really happy the way he was swung the bat.
Yeah, agreed. It was fun watching Luke on the bases for sure. You mentioned that earlier, but that was fun and exciting. And talking about Ty Head, he hit one. Uh, Second baseman was kind of playing back, and he hit it in the short right field, and the second baseman just ever so slightly bobbled it, and Head beat it out. He was he was he was getting down the baseline pretty fast. I'm excited to see him on the base path this
Yeah.
season too.
I'm 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 relatively I'm 37 and I'm relatively confident that I could play second base for Fordham though, to be honest. I
Well,
could
man
I
looked
could
like a
Yeah,
hockey. He like a
I could
hockey goalie over there. I was beginning to feel sorry for him.
I could start at second base for Fordham at 37, I promise you.
they had 7 errors. I don't know how many he had, but it had to be a few. When we hit it to him, I was just I kind of turned my head, put my head down a little bit. So
I was beginning to feel sorry for him. I'm not gonna
It
lie.
was,
I was
it
like,
was bad.
gosh.
It really bad.
I mean, he was over there like blocking him. I was like, gosh. And then if you can't play second base, Wesley, we probably could put you in left field because
Yeah.
my man in left field looked like he was in the Bermuda Triangle a couple times when the ball would go up over his head. Uh, I mean, you could tell they've been practicing inside quite a bit. I think that was uh, pretty obvious. Obvious. Good to see Hogue back too. We mentioned Hogue already, but good to see him back in the lineup. I mean, he looks the same. Um, I'm sure he's going to get healthier every week. Um, so glad to see him back. A guy like Bechtel, who doesn't right now figure to be in the everyday nine, to come in and get one at bat, and as Wesley said earlier, hit it 430 feet or whatever the number was. That's exciting. If you get late in the game and you got a lefty on lefty matchup, you pinch hit that guy who has proven that one pitch he can leave the yard. That's a nice piece. But we play a lot of guys and we swing the bat pretty good. All right, to the pitchers. Before we go pitcher by pitcher, I already said we started Dom, we started Heath Andrews, and we started Ryan Marone. Who are you guys most impressed by of those three? I'll start with you, Wes.
Yeah, I mean, if for me, if you look at all the pitchers that both teams, sent out on the field, Marone looked a little different than everybody else. I was really impressed by his command, and of course, we don't have the measurables of weight gained in the offseason, but he looked a little bigger for sure. I think most importantly, he had a lot more confidence, I thought, on the mound. So if you're talking about who was the most impressive, certainly was Marone to me.
Adam?
yeah, I was getting ready to make the same comment. I thought both Marone and Consiglio both looked significantly bigger. Bigger arms, bigger across the back. Jersey fit a little different than it was fitting on those guys last year. So that was exciting to see. Just remembering how they looked as freshmen last year. But I would agree about Marone. I thought that Dom had good stuff too once he kind of settled in. He's still got nasty stuff. And Schaffner looked good coming in. So I mean, I think But of my choice of the starters, as you mentioned, I would definitely say Marone.
Yeah, I'll go out on a limb right now, and I know there was some people. There was a lot of debate back and forth over who the rotation was going to be. And hell, I might be wrong. I might be wrong as soon as next weekend. Who knows? But I will go out on a limb now and say that if he stays healthy, Ryan Marone's not coming out of the rotation. He looked damn good. And he had 7 strikeouts. He had no walks. And he works at a really good pace. I mean, he just looked confident. Like, just give me the ball. Let's go. Um, I mean, the guy was drafted by the Indians out of high school. Like, I think some folks maybe have forgot that. It's pretty easy to look at the radar gun and be like, this guy throws 97 or this guy throws 95 or this guy has this much vertical break and spin rate and all this stuff. Ryan Marone can pitch, man. He had the lowest ERA last year of the guys that threw enough qualifying innings. He had the lowest ERA on the team. I know he threw a lot of midweek games, but Ryan Marone's pretty dang good, and he looked pretty dang good this weekend. So I'd agree. I think there's a consensus there. Uh,
I will, I will, I'll go out on a limb too and say that Jacob Duden is not going to maintain his current ERA. Uh,
I agree with that. I'll second that. Um, I think too, if you looked at, you mentioned Schaffner. Schaffner threw the ball really good at him. Consiglio threw
yeah,
the ball. I know Consiglio. I think he walked a couple guys. I think he had 2
he
walks
did
and
have a
2
couple
innings.
wild pitches. Yeah,
But man, he's got good stuff. Um, and talking about the ERA, man, I was so excited to see Matt Willardson back after he gave up the home run. He threw an 88-mile-an-hour fastball. It wasn't a bad pitch either. It was down. Guy just hit it. And NC State, I mean, Doak feels a little bit of a hitter-friendly ballpark, if we're being honest. Guy went down, hit it out, and after that, Matt Willardson looked vintage. He threw 3 pitches for a strike, toe it and throw it. I mean,
that
he
was
had
fun to
uh,
watch.
gosh, his changeup so good. I don't give a damn if he can't throw 95. That changeup he throws is absolute filth. And gosh, he's another guy. I don't think his ERA is going to be 9 all year, but fun to see Matt back on the mound. You mentioned Duden, Camden Wimbish, another name. I hate that we kind of got sloppy there in the 7th yesterday. But if you're a coach, you kind of want to be able to go in the locker room at the end of the weekend and fuss about something. So I don't think it's the worst thing in the world that, the guy hit one, got it up in the air and hit one out off Duden, and then the next guy stuck his bat out. I mean, literally stuck his bat out for a kind of little cheap double down the line, and Duden come out of there with a 54 ERA in point 1 innings pitched. It's going to give Coach Avent and Coach Chrysler something to fuss about a little bit. Is you can't lay down, can't stop. Not that those guys did, but we got touched up a little bit there late in the game. But I don't make a whole lot of that. I don't think any of you do. uh, I mean,
No, not in that situation. Agreed.
Dude is basically jogging out of the pen when it's like 42 degrees and misting outside on a wet mound, beating his spikes off, and guy runs into one. So um, I think that at the end of game 1, I do know that Coach Avent said we didn't pound the zone enough, and we only had 10 walks all weekend, but we hit a few guys, had some wild pitches. I think that we can get better on the mound, but we threw the ball really good. You come out of the weekend with a 2.86 ERA. You feel a lot better than Fordham, who I think it says our opponent's total at
1629.
16.29. So 2.86 don't feel that bad, after week 1. Wes,
Yeah, no, I agree for sure. I mean, I expected Fordham to be a little more formidable than they actually ended up being. I don't know why I thought that, but I just thought they might be a little better than they were. Um, and probably for Duden, it's not the worst thing on earth when you're named the top, uh, one of the top pitchers in Division I baseball to go out there and see that, you know, you can't just show up and just throw it over the plate. That you're going to have to be on your A game when you're playing Division I baseball. So it's probably not the worst thing that happened. But to Cal's point and Adam's point, it's 45 degrees and raining, and everybody's ready to go home at that point as well. So probably one of the positives, I guess, is that happening early in the year like that.
I'll say we didn't
Yeah.
talk about Heath Andrews yet, but you guys kind of, I think I'm beginning to see what the staff really likes about that guy. I mean, he was 94. He's got some good stuff.
He does. He walked 3 and hit 3. But I agree. He's definitely got a lot of picked up his velo a lot. Cal, I was going to mention one more thing about as we're closing out on Fordham a little bit. You won't be surprised by this, but I mentioned to Danny the other day, our walking encyclopedia. I said, "Do you know who Fordham is?" He said, "Oh yeah." He said that's where Vince Lombardi went to college.
No way.
He said that's where he went and played football. I said, oh, well, I didn't know that. And I said, would you guess that they're the all-time winningest college baseball program? He says, well, I wouldn't have necessarily guessed that. He says, but I'm not really that surprised. He says they're in the Bronx and the Yankees are there. He said maybe kids in college want to go because they had some access to the Yankees back in the day. I said, well, there you go. Maybe that is true.
Um, yeah, yeah. The Abraham Lincoln did not play first base for him, but my man at second base did have a glove from about. He must have had a glove from back then. He must have one of them vintage 1887 editions because that thing was
God.
concrete. Um, uh, so going on to this weekend, or this weekend. So we got Liberty coming up on Tuesday. And as I'm moving on to that, I do want to say we saw no D-Rock this weekend. I don't know if that's something we should be concerned about right now, or if we're going to see him this week. I was kind of surprised we saw Duden when it got to the point that it did. And at the end, it was definitely an effort to get as many arms as we could because we're up 16-1, and we're rolling out a guy every out. But we didn't get to see D-Rock this weekend. Hope he's not too banged up if he is, and we see him again soon. But did not see him. That is something noteworthy if you're listening. So we got Liberty on Tuesday. Who do you guys think is going to start that game? I think there's been some discussion on that. I saw on some of the message boards. You thinking maybe Jackson Lucas? Is that why we maybe didn't see him? Or
That makes sense. I was kind of thinking that it was going to be Consiglio, before we saw him for, I'd say somewhat of I don't know how many pitches he ended up throwing, but somewhat of, what did he throw? 37 pitches in game 2. So I originally thought it was going to be Consiglio, but yeah, maybe Jackson Lucas. I mean, I kind of hope that it is at this point. I mean, I would say that's kind of really probably the only thing that makes sense for not seeing him, like with the host of guys we ran out there yesterday.
yeah, and so Liberty is 3-0. They're going to come in with a 167 ERA after sweeping St. John's this weekend. Liberty has 2 returning everyday guys, Tanner Marsh and Cam Troyer are the offensive names to remember. Marsh hit 400 opening weekend, and Troyer 364. They hit 2 home runs on the weekend as a team. 289 as a team versus St. John's, which is not elite Power 4 competition. But I think we all remember the struggles we had midweek last year. You guys are nervous about it at all, or I think it's important to win these games early.
What's the weather on Tuesday?
I haven't looked yet, but it's got to be cold. I'm about to pull it up now.
You
It's
think
got to be.
you think they'll play the UNC ECU series this weekend with it being low 40s for a high? You think they play that? I mean,
I don't know if
Jesus.
they'll cancel it because of temperature, but there's the possibility there's going to be some snow on the ground. It's supposed to be 49 on Tuesday. So we'll get that game in, but it's not going to be pleasant weather. Kind of
It's too cold. It's too cold for baseball. I think it's just too cold for baseball.
Kind of wonder if that
Man,
affects who you run out.
man, Liberty had 3 pitchers from this past year's team transfer to East Carolina.
And didn't
Really, I
Liberty
didn't.
lose a few guys to UNC too? Because
Yes,
their old coach
there's
came back to
their
the UNC
coach.
staff.
Yeah, their coach went to UNC.
Gosh, it looks
Nick,
like. Go ahead, Adam.
I was just going to say Nick Morin, Tyler Grubbs, and Ryan Towers all transferred from Liberty to East Carolina back in July.
So you talk about us running a lot of different guys out there this weekend. Liberty threw 15 guys and came out of there with a 167 ERA. They threw 15 different arms this weekend. So I guess from Liberty we're going to see Harry Holstaff. I would think the Pack would probably like to extend Jackson Lucas or Nance or whoever it is we end up starting. But and then I wouldn't be surprised if you see Consiglio, you might see Willardson. Hell, Willardson might even start. Who knows? And go 3 or 4 innings. But uh, kind of a enticing early season midweek matchup for us. They're picked to finish 4th in Conference USA. They're a team we should beat, but we really, really struggled in the midweek last year. So I hope we can look a little better.
And that's a bit of an understatement. We struggled mightily in the midweek last year.
No question. All right, next weekend we're going down to Jacksonville, Florida. The Pack homers will all be there. We're going to be there for the Ohio State, Alabama, and Coastal games. We open up with Ohio State at 2:00 on Friday. Ohio State, interesting note is, you guys know who the coach is at Ohio State?
The old Campbell coach, Hare,
Yep,
Coach Hare.
Justin Hare. I wonder if he took the meat wagon to Columbus.
He definitely should have taken the meat wagon to Columbus if he didn't. I'm guessing that Ohio State can finance a new meat wagon if asked for.
Yeah, their football team is making $20 million. One would think that they could get a new meat wagon for Coach Hare up in Columbus.
Yeah, I'm sure he has a couple meat wagons now.
And probably a lot thicker wallet.
But a hell of a coach. Hell of a
He
coach,
is a
though.
hell of a coach. They
And
went
I'm
0-3
guessing,
this weekend. They played
yeah,
Arizona State, though. Good program.
I think Campbell may have. I know Campbell lost the series. I don't know if they went 0-3, but I know they lost the series. Pretty sure they lost the series.
Ohio State lost 9-8 to Arizona State, 7-6. And then today they lost 17-10 out in Phoenix. And then they don't play again. They don't have a midweek, probably because they're traveling back, halfway across the country before going down to Jacksonville, Florida. They went 29-26 last year. They're projected to finish 11th in the Big Ten. There are more than 11 teams. I think there's like 17 or 18 teams now. They got Oregon there in that conference now and Washington. So anyway, they're projected to finish 11th in the Big Ten. I think that the Pack is going to see Blaine Wink is the name I kind of dug out of nowhere today. He was up to 98 in the fall. I think they said last year he averaged 93 mile an hour on the fastball. He did start game 1 versus Arizona State. Ohio State, we talked about us striking out 8 times in 3 games. I didn't look at how many times they struck out today, but Ohio State struck out 20 times in their first 2 games against Arizona State. So you would think our pitching should play up to that pretty well. Looks like Ohio State struck out 8 more times today. Did put up 10 runs today. But one thing about Ohio State that I have read, I'll share, is that they love to run the bases. And they stole 8 bags in the first 2 games against Arizona State. They stole 2 more today, so they stole 10 bases this weekend. They stole 90 last year. And D1 Baseball says that they think that they have the type roster that will steal more than 90 bags this year. And all 3 of us really respect Coach Hare that came from Campbell. So not overlooking Ohio State at all. Not a premium matchup, like some of the games Clemson played this weekend, with Ole Miss and Oklahoma State, and, that lineup they had Arizona. But Ohio State's a pretty good matchup for us on Friday and Jacksonville, and then on Saturday we play Alabama, and Alabama they played Bradley this weekend. I'm assuming they went 3-0. I know they won the
They did.
first two games like 29.
They won 11-4 today.
All right, so they scored 40 runs in 3 games. Alabama is projected to be a tourney team by D1 Baseball. The name to look out for there is Justin LeBron or LeBron. Justin LeBron. He was a freshman All-American, first team freshman All-American shortstop, and he is projected right now in the 2026 draft to be a top 10, if not the number 1 overall pick. Hit 338 last year as a freshman with 12 home runs playing shortstop in the SEC. So he's a name to look out for there. You guys got any notes on the Crimson Tide?
I don't really. They have 2 midweek games though. They play Tuesday night and Wednesday night at home before coming to Jacksonville. So they got 3 more games before we play them.
Yeah, I did pick up on that. They had a couple midweek games.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think. I mean, they got some guys that when I was reading about them, Zane Adams and Riley Quick. We're probably going to see one of those 2 guys. Adams started game 1 for them in of the season. They said he's up to 95. Throws a mid-80s slider, I think, from the left side too. And then they got Riley Quick, who I guess we would see started game 2. I think Quick has been 100 up to 100, which is some serious velo. They got Garrett Staten in, who is a Samford transfer, hit 19 home runs for them last year and hit 1 versus Bradley game 1 this year. So, what do you guys think about this little tournament? Just in general, we'll talk about Coastal in a minute, but a little bit more exciting than playing Fordham, wouldn't you say?
Way more exciting. I'm looking forward to it. I will say the other thing about Alabama is they struck out 26 times this weekend.
So they're taking mule hacks up there.
They only struck Bradley out 27 times, but they struck out
Gosh.
26. Yeah,
Bradley struck him out 26 times.
26 times.
Damn. That's kind of surprising. I mean, I can't imagine Bradley was sitting up there rolling up dudes.
I know.
Bama might have some of them on the payroll by next year. That's what Wesley said about Elon the other night. What did you say, Wesley? When Elon was playing Texas A&M?
Yeah, I mean, when the guy goes out and, I mean, I don't know if you guys, so I have a good colleague that I work with that lives in College Station, and he told me to look at the aftermarket ticket prices for the opening series with Elon and Texas A&M. I took a look at it. The cheapest ticket price in that stadium on Friday against Elon was about $165. So, I don't know anything about the Elon kid, but I know that he went into, a very hostile environment, excited environment for the number 1 team in the country. Of course, most would know that A&M's coach last year left A&M to go to Texas. And we can only imagine if that were to happen to us at, NC State to go to Carolina, right? So anyway, this kid went out, sold out crowd, and threw 5 scoreless. So, expect him to be at A&M next year. But when we're talking about what these guys are throwing, you know, across the country, and of course, if there's any college baseball, fanatics like us that don't have Twitter or X, then you should get it. But the amount of players that are throwing 100 plus is unbelievable. I don't know if you guys saw the Georgia guy. I don't know. Bama's got a guy, and
Was
Georgia had a
was he the guy with the paws?
yeah, the guy that was in Wilmington this weekend. He had a pause. He had a pause in his delivery, and then he was throwing 100 miles an hour. And just going back to us, and we're not old, but I can remember whenever we were in high school, or someone was throwing 90. It was like, wow, that guy.
Yeah.
Scouts are coming to watch you. MLB scouts. And then, and where will we be 10 years from now, 15 years from now? I don't know. But it's just it's hard to understand, how these guys are throwing. And, just a couple hours earlier, me and a neighbor, we have, a lot of our neighbors come over Sunday, and we had a Daytona 500 a day, drinking a few beers, and I throw football for for 3 minutes, and I feel like my elbow is going to fall off. So this is hard to fathom the amount of people that are throwing 100 plus now in college baseball.
Yeah, that is wild. I mean, you think about to your point, Wesley, like when we were in high school, a guy throws 90, like the scouts would, you're right, the scouts would come see you. Now these guys throw 100. You read on D1 baseball and you're like, a name to watch out of the pen is so and so. He was up to 100 this fall, but he has trouble locating. I'm like, who the hell needs to locate when you throw 100? But now you do. I mean, Duden's a prime example. A man's upper 90s, and they got guys there in the Bronx uh, that are able to square that up. So, I mean, the game is definitely changed. Yeah, I saw the guy from Georgia, like he legit comes to a full stop, and then
Yeah, if anyone hasn't seen it, you should definitely get on Twitter to watch that delivery. And I don't even know how, as a batter, you have a chance if it comes across the plate.
floating foot, and here comes 100. Yeah, he's just got that thing just hovering in there. All right, game 3 on Sunday, we play Coastal Carolina. Coastal Carolina is projected 4th in the Sun Belt. Supposed to be another tournament team. They're led by Caden Bodine. Had 29 extra. He's a catcher. I think maybe the number 1 catcher in the country is what I read. I know he's top 5. But he had 29 extra base hits as a freshman and 29 extra base hits as a sophomore. I don't know how they ended up this weekend. I know they won their first game over St. Joe's 11-1, beat Kansas State 8-3 in their second game. They have five. They'll be played 5 games before they show up. Go ahead.
They beat Washington today 11-1.
So yeah, got a collection of arms there too in Conway. And they'll be coming in as having played 5 games. They play Coastal Carolina in the midweek. I think they play Kansas State again tomorrow. So they'll have 5.
College of Charleston.
Yeah, College of Charleston. Who did I say?
Yeah. Coastal.
Yeah, I said Coastal. Yeah, they play College of Charleston in the midweek, and Kansas State again tomorrow. So they'll have 5 games under their belt. A name you guys will remember is Chance Mako. Did he throw today, Adam? He didn't throw game 1 or 2.
I had it. Let me see. Coastal. No, he did not. Their starter today pitched a complete game. Well, pitched 7 innings, full game.
So yeah, Mako was the NC State guy last year. One of our prized recruits, actually. Highly recruited guy coming out of high school, and didn't throw a whole lot for us. I think he struggled with command, but he's down at Coastal now. Coastal's game 1 starter was a kid named Cullen McKay, who was a weekend starter last year at UVA. Lost his weekend gig, entered the portal, and is at Coastal now. He's a guy's 94-95. I got a guy named Cam Flukie, who had 83 strikeouts and 55 innings last year for Coastal. He was 94-95 in the fall. He pitched this weekend, and then Riley, I guess the name is Eichhoff, went 6-1. I guess. Did he throw today, Adam? Because I don't think he had thrown game 1 or 2 either.
I think that is who it was. What did you say his name was?
Riley
Elkoff?
Eichhoff, maybe.
That's who pitched. That's who pitched the whole game today. Yep.
So he was 6-1 last year. He's 90-91. Probably who the Pack will see next weekend in Jacksonville.
He threw 70. He threw 70 pitches a day through 7 innings.
So he was cruising.
That was pretty efficient
versus Washington. So they have another guy, Blake Barthol. I think he's hit 20 home runs. He might have hit 20 home runs last year. I know he hit 310 last year. I think he hit 310 last year with 20 home runs. Plays second base for him. Not a big guy, but I think he's 5'9", but brings a little pop. So let's make some predictions. We got 4 games this week. Liberty, Ohio State, Coastal, and Alabama. We should start like writing this down. How are we gonna do? Like, what do you guys
Man,
thinking the Pack's gonna do this weekend?
we should keep a tally for the whole
Well, all right, we
season.
can do it. It's not too late. We all picked this to go 3-0 versus Fordham. We're tied.
We should keep a tally.
Yeah, we can review it.
We'll put it on. We'll put it on. We'll get Veep to put it on the Pack Homer Instagram and Twitter pages at Pack
Okay.
Homer. If you're following on Instagram and X, if you're not, you should. All right, well we got Liberty. I'm gonna write it down. I'm taking notes.
I got a win at Liberty.
All right, Adam's got a win. What about you, Wesley?
Loss.
Oh,
Oof. And
Wesley.
Wes, to think I wore my damn Wolfpack Club hat just for you. You gonna put us down for a midweek loss to Liberty.
I mean, you're just going with history. We don't like to win in the midweek. I'm taking the Pack. We're going to beat Liberty. We're going to extinguish the flames. All right. We got Ohio State, the Buckeyes on Friday. Going to see Don Fritton probably in that one.
W.
Adam is going with a W. Wesley?
Loss.
He's so stoic.
Wow. Wow.
Are we even Pack homers?
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Hey, the only reason I say a loss is because Hare. I mean, here he has a formula that I can see. I think of the Friday night game almost as like a midweek game. Everybody's getting to Florida. I think Hare's a really good coach. I'm not saying like anything's wrong with the baseball team. I just think that we're gonna lose to Ohio State, then we're gonna beat Alabama, we're gonna beat Coastal Carolina. That's where I'm at.
All right. Well, Wesley's already picked against Alabama and Coastal. So Wesley has us going 2-2 this week with losses to Liberty and Ohio State. All right. I'm gonna make it easy for me. I'm going like ultra homer mode. I think we're going 4-0 this week.
I do too. I think our closest game is going to be against Coastal. Sunday afternoon, 2:30 game. I'm gonna say that's going to be our closest. But yeah, I agree. I'm picking us to go 4-0 as well.
All right. All right. I got it documented now. 4-0. I think. Who do you think's gonna give us the hardest time? Well, Wesley. I mean, hell, you got multiple choice here. You got Liberty and Ohio
Obviously,
State beating us.
obviously, if we lose, if I think we're gonna lose Ohio State and Liberty, give us the hardest time.
Which I think the Bama game's gonna be really good. I mean, I think SEC teams always have talent. I'm hoping that we get to see in that Alabama game. What I would like to see is us kind of looking a little bit like we did late in the year last year, where we are able to get a solid start. Assuming it's going to be Heath Andrews, if we go with the same rotation we did this weekend, but to get out to get into a meaningful or close ball game or have a lead, fifth or sixth, and then the bullpen come in and
Pitch some meaningful
pitch some
relief.
meaningful innings and hold them off down the stretch. So I think an Alabama game is going to be a really, really good game. If you're going down to Jacksonville this weekend, Adam, tell them what we got after the game on Saturday. Any fans that are going down to Jacksonville, I don't want you to miss this. You guys are all NC State fans. Most of you means you're country boys. You've been around a farm before. After the NC State game on Saturday, if you're in Jacksonville, tell them what's across the street, Adam.
It's PBR, the Unleash the Beast bull riding Saturday night. So we're going. It's actually 2 days. It's Saturday night and Sunday, but Sunday coincides with the Coastal game. So we'll be there. We're going to be at the stadium, the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp Stadium. They're the AAA team for the Marlins, for those who didn't know. Then we're going to leave there and proceed directly to the PBR event.
That's right. Wesley,
Yeah,
are you packing your cowboy hat, Wesley?
I'll have the hat and the boots, buddy.
If anybody can find this and DM it, we'll give you a prize. Wesley was at the Kentucky Derby a few years ago, and he
Oh
was
man,
voted one of the best dressed people at the Kentucky Derby. That is not a lie.
It's true. That is true. That's
We might
very
have to
true.
post that on our Instagram.
Yeah, and I don't we if any fans that listen to us don't have tickets yet, let us know. So we'll buy a block of tickets together. Adam, you probably already got tickets. I don't know if you do, Cal, or not, but I do not.
I haven't bought mine. I don't know how I'm going to get my cowboy hat there. I'm going to be in Florida all week this week, so that could be a little difficult.
you are. You're
I might
literally going to be there all week.
I might go to the rodeo in the NC State baseball jersey on Saturday. Who knows?
I'm down with that.
All right. Any final thoughts before I cut this thing up? And we hey, I did do some editing last week, guys. So we're getting better at that.
You missed some great conversation that Wesley had with you off air, though.
No, I didn't. So when I went back to edit it, guys, if you ever start a podcast, if you ever get kicked off and your buddies keep recording, and you're the one responsible for editing, you can go back and you can hear everything they said about you while you were gone. So I didn't put that on the air last week, but these guys hurt my feelings a little bit. But no. All right, Cal 4-0 for the pack this week. Adam 4-0 for the pack, and Wesley has the pack at 2-2 this week. Oh, one last thing before we go, and I'm gonna let both of y'all chime in on this, even though I know you weren't there. I heard this weekend at the Doak that for our 11 o'clock first pitch, I think it ended up being a noon first pitch, but our noon
It
first
did.
pitch on Friday, that the NC State, I don't know what we call them, security, campus police, the 5-0, they were interrupting a little bit of tailgate. And I think some folks, were just trying to enjoy a couple cold snacks and do a little maybe grilling on the parking deck. And the campus police interrupted the party. And I just want to say that if we're trying to be a big time program in our already undersized stadium, they got to quit that. You got to let the people have their cold beer and hot dogs.
You can't discourage. Not only can you have to not discourage it, you have to encourage it.
Encourage it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I did not hear that. I had not heard that, but that is very unfortunate.
But I do think that they did let the party continue. But I think there was a few tenuous moments. So
Maybe we'll get our AD to weigh in on that on Twitter, and maybe he can put out a statement on Twitter about that.
I mean, you think about our fan base who struggled through. We struggled through some rough times the last 6 months. We're not going to call out any individual performances by the Wolfpack Athletic Department, but our guy, we were ripping and raring for baseball season, and you can't do that. Wes?
Yeah. Well, I generally make a list. I got a manila folder. I have a manila folder that I keep with me on Monday mornings, and right now that's number one on my list to to find out and just let everybody who needs to know understand what happened with that. And I don't think we'll have any issues with that again. Um, I think it's just a misunderstanding, to be honest. It's still early in the season, but of course for us, and one of the reasons why we do this podcast is because if we're gonna, continue to be competitive with the higher end programs in the country like we are, the Mississippi States, the Arkansas, uh, this is part of it. East Carolina, for instance, people tailgate on campus. So whatever needs to, whatever the campus police, whatever memo they need to have when their baseball is coming on, I think that we'll be able to uh, move forward from this positively.
Preeminent athletic program on campus. You gotta turn a blind eye to some of that stuff, even if it is during
Yes.
school hours.
Yes, it's ridiculous. But I mean, we don't know all the details, but we'll do our best to figure out what happened and make sure it doesn't happen again.
All right. Hey, if you're in Jacksonville, come see us. We'll be around. I'd love to talk to any listeners, NC State fans. We'll be lurking around the ballpark all weekend. Had it on our calendars for a while, so can't wait to get there. I think if you're trying to listen from home, I do think D1 Baseball has exclusive rights to the broadcasting. So I don't know if you got to have a subscription or something, but hope you will follow the pack and look forward to seeing you down there if you're there. All right. Talk to you next week. Go Pack.
Go Pack.
Go Pat. Oh. We're getting kind of shortchanged on the music.